Welcome back to the Final Fantasy V 4 Job Fiesta 2021. This is run number 2. Run number 2 is a classic style run, or a FF1 style run. We've got a knight, white mage, monk, and the thief down there at the bottom in Ferris. One of the rules of the FF1 style run is that all the jobs are natural, so there is no ability switching or job changing ever. These characters are locked into the job that you get for the entire game. So Bart's up there is always going to be a knight, etc. You see me exploring a strategy here. I'm going to try to use blink status to keep some of the physical attacks off of these guys, but that was actually a mistake. As you'll see as I go through here, I decided to change the strategy because going in, I knew that these guys were fast, but I kind of forgot how fast they will take away your blink status, especially if you only have one caster. If I had if this wasn't a natural style run and I could do some job switching, everybody would have access to the spell, so we could all apply it to each other. But with only one caster and, of course, no access to haste yet, we were just too slow in applying it because those crystals are moving at not double our speed, but sometimes it seems like double our speed. So there's going to be no way that I can ever keep the blink status on, because sometimes I would cast it on a character and that character would have it gone before the white mage even got another round for just one person. I couldn't protect the entire party. So these characters these crystals each have 7,777 hit points. Once they get down below 3,000, they go into what we call like their desperation mode, where they start spamming their ability. That's all targeting. So that's area of effect damage. Now, the white mage is great, but remember, I only have one white mage, one white magic caster, so I can't have everybody healing. I only have one healer, so Lena is both our healer and our defender here trying to set up things. So what I should have done from the very beginning was put on the protect spell, because that one, rather than the blink status, which expires after 2 hits, protect spell or armor in the translation will last the entire battle. Once you apply that, that will last the entire battle. She's putting on Shell here because I'm wearing that front crystal down, and we're working our way down to where it's going to start spamming its water attack, its aqua breath attack at us. And so before that happens, we want to have the Shell status on. We should have done 1 round of armor status and 1 round of Shell status, and that would have been it. Then we could have just dealt with the incoming damage. But as it is, you see her applying Shell status one at a time to the characters. This is, yes, on the Japanese version of the game, and this is played on a cartridge. This is a Super Famicom cartridge played on a modded US Super NES. So I'll try to describe what's going on here. That's a high potion that Butts is using on Lena there. Should be obvious as watching what it does, but yes, it is a high potion. I do have as many evasion items on as I can. I have all the elf capes that I've got. I don't think I'm using the Guardian Dagger, but I can't remember now if I'm using the Dodging Dagger yet. I do have access to Air Knife, so I'm probably using Air Knife on those characters. But I saw Butts there using a knife, so maybe I have the Guardian Daggers coming into the battle, then I switch to a stronger weapon once we have our defenses up. So he's throwing another high potion around. So we have single targeting healing, of course, in potions, but our white mage there is the one who can do our group healing. And yes, Ferris is mugging here. Ferris is using mug just because she has it, so I might as well use it. It will also avoid the dance of the dancing dagger, I believe, so that is it makes it a little bit more reliable just as an attacking weapon. So the dancing dagger is a little bit more reliable just to get the damage printout that you want, to avoid having Ferris do some pointless dances here during a boss fight. And yes, indeed, so I did have the Guardian Dagger on, or the Mongosh weapon, so now I'm putting in the, that's the Flame Saber that we picked up. So now he's doing some real damage, and I didn't want to do that much damage at the beginning of the fight because that would have put this piece into its critical mode before we had shells on. As it is, we have shells on. I paused the fight to just look at the damage printouts, and as you can see, it's a lot. It's significant. I don't want to take another one without doing some healing first, but it's enough that we can survive. So Lena's going to do a Cure 3 here. That's going to get everybody back up to full health, and hopefully we can take that front piece out before too many more of those attacks. This battle does get easier once you have some of these crystals down. And so here it is, Ferris is switching to the air knife. So now we're actually looking for higher damage printout. So there's the air knife. She did have the Guardian Dagger on just to reduce the number of hits she took in the first part of the fight. And there's the front crystal down. So the battle gets easier here because that's now one less crystal that's attacking. One fewer crystal that every round is going to be pounding a bunch of critical hits into us. So everyone's got their stronger weapons on now. Butts up there has the Flame Saber. Ferris has got her air knife, so we're going to work on that earth crystal piece. And here I'm applying the protect status as I should have done at the beginning of this fight, because that would have greatly reduced my headache in trying to keep everybody protected. So now when Ferris takes the shot, she'll take half damage up there, and our levels are such that we can stand a few of those. We can stand a few of those. Now, trying to manage the hit points of these crystals is a little tricky when you've got a monk, because the monk can randomly just counterattack. So if you're trying to keep these crystals above a certain threshold, like 3,000, it can make it really difficult if you've got a monk that's counterattacking and kind of messing with your plans of keeping everything there. That's why I'm just focusing on the one crystal at a time. Also, of course, it keeps fewer crystals hanging around. So we're throwing a high potion over there at Galef just to get Galef back up until she can get the protect spell on him. So I still have Ferris using the mug skill, just I think in case we steal. I can't remember what you steal from these guys. It's nothing super significant, and it looks like maybe it's just a rare steal. It's probably something like a dark matter that is not going to be relevant for our run and doesn't even sell for a lot of money. Too bad. But when you have the mug ability with the thief, you'd be surprised at all the junk that ends up in your inventory. Especially if you're playing on the Japanese version here and you're not really reading what it says as you're going through the game. You just kind of notice that your inventory just gets clogged with a bunch of junk. Anyway, here is Earthshaker, and I'm just checking it actually does less damage than the Aqua Breath did, but the White Mage still is in a little bit of trouble there because she took a few physical attacks before she took that Earthshaker. So even with all this protection, it's still rather difficult to keep these guys up, and this is mostly because they're so fast. They just get turned so quickly, and when they're in the first part of their routine doing the physical attacks, they can just brutalize a character, even in the back row. So that's why, again, I should have just put Protect on everybody, which would have been a lot better. Because then Lena would be taking much, much, much less damage in the back row and with Protect status on. She would have really been doing a lot better there. Because as it is, she's kind of in trouble from these Earthshakers, because she's getting plinked a lot back there in her little spot there in the back row. So we're looking at the hit point readouts for everybody, and here's where I'm just kind of deciding to what to do. Is like, do I go with armor on herself, or do I do Cure 3 for everybody to recover from that Earthshaker while we have another piece down there that's still spamming its stuff? I didn't want Ferris to have to hit the ground. As it was, I probably could have just put armor on her, Protect on herself, but I wasn't sure if we were one hit away from taking that piece out or not. But that's okay. So there's Galef counterattacking on the Fire Crystal, so that's where, you could be in a little bit of trouble if that's what we were focusing on. Right there, I forgot that Ferris still had the air knife in her hand, so that actually just healed up whatever little bit of damage Galef did on a counterattack earlier on that air piece. So this piece can be tricky if you've got a lot of knife users in your party, because it will absorb the best weapon you can get in the game. If you don't have a knight, that's the best weapon so far in this game for knife users. So you've got to actually downgrade yourself to a lesser knife. And here I'm looking for the Dancing Dagger, I believe. Yes, that is the Dancing Dagger. And now I'm using the Mug ability, and I'm using that to try to override the dance part of that one. So it will skip it, just like it skips the Chicken Knife's Flee event. It'll skip the dancing part so that Ferris is not rolling dances that won't do anything. Obviously, Sword Dance is great, but there's a lot of dances that aren't nearly as useful, like the MP Drain dance and the Charm dance. So using Mug just uses the base damage of the Dancing Dagger. That's an Arrow 3 or an Aeroga. So these guys have a little bit stronger attacks. That fire one's got even stronger than the Aerogas. So you got to be really careful, and that air one is fast, so it might be getting 1 or 2 more Aerogas off on us if we aren't too careful. See, there it is, because that is fast, but because we've got Shell on, it's doing a lot less damage. There's Gale of beating up on the Fire Crystal as a counter. And really the most reliable damage there is the Flame Saber, or the Flame Tongue, from the Knight. Now, of course, the Knight has to switch weapons from the Flame Saber to something that's a little bit weaker as well. Flame Saber is the first of the Knight swords that you find, so it's a sword that can only be used by Knights and Freelancers. So some of the other swords that are a little bit lighter weight can be used by Blue Mage or Red Mage, some of the lighter sword characters. But the Flame Tongue can only be used by the Knights. And that same thing with the Ice Brand and the Defender. There's a few other Knight swords in here. Of course, Ragnarok and Excalibur are the same way. This is the Sleep Sword, the Slumber Sword, and you can see the printout of the damage is a couple hundred less. The Knight is double gripping these weapons, so he is using them in both hands, so that is boosting the damage. I almost never use shields with the Knight once we actually get the double grip ability. So we're healing up, trying to be full health for when the Fire 3s start to come, because, as I said before, that's the strongest of these attacks. We'll take more damage from that one, even with Shell, than we took before. Here we are about to see the first printout, so you can see it's closer to 400 on some characters instead of 200. So imagine of that without the Shell protection. That would be enough to take out our squishier characters in one shot, and maybe even the Knight in one shot. But as it was, this fight was never super, super dangerous. Just you've got to make sure that you are healing and dealing damage judiciously. We're taking another Fire 3 here. We will heal up just to be on the safe side, but we should be able to finish this fight before the end of the round, before we see another one. And the Monk, again, being kind of useless, but there he is, finishing blow on that last crystal. And onward we go to the rest of World 2.